Love laid bare.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. You're through to another episode of Love Laid Bare, and I'm, of course, your host, Dionne. So today I'm joined by a really lovely young man that I met via Twitter. Um, I could, I don't know what it was about him, but I do generally seem to have like a thing with particularly young Black men who I can see are trying to make a difference and trying to make a change. We had a little conversation, and I'm very much in support of what he's doing. So I wanted to invite Akeem to the Love Laid Bare platform to talk about his journey himself and exactly what it is that he is trying to do. So Akeem, welcome. How are you?
I'm okay, and thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. But yes, I am okay.
Where are you from? What's your cultural background?
Okay, so born and raised Birmingham City, the area that I'm predominantly was raised in was Balls Heath. In my teen years, I was moving around, me and my mum moving around, and then we settled in Quinton, where that became like my home and like my purpose with like the person who I am today. So
Okay.
yeah, that's a short introduction.
Okay. So tell us about lunchtime because I did see on Twitter, I think a few weeks ago, you posted this video about, you giving back to the community. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Okay, and then so just throughout life, like I've had multiple inspirations and stuff. And lunchtime, I'll say that is a separate persona to who I am with you talking right now. Like I created lunchtime in 2018. The purpose of it was like um I just needed a different source of hustle. I didn't want to go the old school way with like my environment and everything else. You asked about my cultural background. I am of a Jamaican background,
Mhm.
both sides. So yeah, that's a bit about my background. But I've tried to look beyond my roots. My father has always inspired me to think outside of the box. We know our history with the Caribbean and whatnot, but my father, he had the African dream. So all of that I had to process kind of and obviously try to get back deeper into my roots beyond the Caribbean.
Mhm.
Lunchtime, yeah, I created it, and I'd say this was probably created out of like pain, purpose, and like there was so much stuff that was going on in my life at that current time. I have a small documentary about it actually, where there was just like various events, and I've always been a community guy anyway. So I
Mhm.
wanted to do something different in the area, the ends and whatnot. So I decided to do Lunchtime Kitchen and do like my brand was basically doing pasta dishes with infused food like pasta with jerk chicken, pasta with curry prawns, just the different type of things, to infuse like all type of communities. My range was I had um white people that were buying from me often. My family was supporting and Asian people were also ordering because there was a mixture for everyone. And I
Mhm.
tried to mix and blend to everybody's kind of culture,
Yeah.
because I've studied with cooking and funny enough the cooking story comes from I learned my trade within like chefing and stuff like that from probation. When I
Okay.
was a younger, 15, 16, 17, I was a little hothead getting in and out of trouble and whatnot, this, that. But I saw beyond that, even from a young age, that this way of life and whatnot is not really going to bring nothing to the table. So let me think outside the box because if plan A don't work, then I have to have a plan B and C.
Mhm.
And hospitality and catering presented itself to me. And then like over the years of working in a school, a college, then I tried to transition it to having my own source of business.
Yeah.
So at first Lunchtime started as that, like, okay, then let me market it as a brand, let me show my people around me that we can make money off different trades other than the track. So it was doing okay. Lunchtime was doing its numbers and very popular in the area and everything else. And from then, I wanted to transpire that with doing community things and giving back to the people that are less fortunate than me. And that was at the start in England, in Birmingham. So I was just doing little fun days and whatnot. Fast forward to where I am now. Obviously, I've had a little pause with Lunchtime because the journey has been within the last 5 years a bit technical. But
Okay.
that's and the start of Lunchtime.
Okay. So what was your drive? What was like the specific drive that kind of made you feel like you wanted to do something community-based as well?
I just feel like we live in a time, we live in an era where, you know, especially being in the UK, I technically don't class myself as being a British citizen because obviously the system and the country have treated me that way. So I do not feel as a British custom. I was born there, but my root starts beyond that.
Yeah.
And seeing other ethnical backgrounds go through the same struggles and things and whatnot, I wanted to bring something that, okay, then we might not, because everybody, I feel like in this social media era is trying to not get rich by trying, but is trying to have a different source of how we can make money, you know, dependent on the government and everything else. And I just thought, if we circulate our areas and stuff like that and put back in the communities, like how back in the day the Caribbean folk were doing partners, they also do it in Africa, but they have there's multiple words for partners and whatnot.
Yeah.
But those type of stuff that are running through the community and everything else, it's it not only brings people together, but it brings help, and it's like I'm not the smartest, so I need to do a whole research on like if the actual general plans could work. But I know that community-based things could definitely run. Because in COVID as well, when COVID hit 2020 and all the big brands were closing down, they were giving stocks to local community hubs. But the community hubs knew that I was like overly tapped in with my area. So they
Yeah.
gave me like Big Macs, the Big Mac sauce, Costa coffee stuff and whatnot. And for me, I was doing like just basic stuff and packing like basic essentials and handing them out to people within my area and whatnot. It's all because like I just feel like if in this world and whatnot, when you don't have the system behind you, all we can fall to is not second option, but our neighbors, our surrounding environments to live good with each other and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I feel like the time and period and everything else is a very selfish time that we're living in right now. Very selfish.
I agree. I do think we are living in a very kind of individualistic society where, it's every man or woman for themselves or for their own families, their own children and stuff like that. And, you know, we need this type of community outreach work that you're doing. So I just want to say to you, thank you for the work that you have done up to this point, and also for now what you're trying to do. So let's talk about that. So you no longer live in Birmingham. So where are you now?
I live in Uganda. We're living here for about 3 years. I live in
Okay,
Uganda.
so you moved to Uganda in 2021?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Wow.
August.
So that was still in the midst of COVID times, right?
Just a bit after, yeah. Just escaping the after effects.
Okay. So when did you make the decision that I'm gonna move to Uganda? When did that happen?
Right. Again, we have to go with that. 2021, Okay, then so the Africa dream has always been in effect. My dad got the space where I'm sitting behind now. It's like 2005. So it's always in the plan for me to spread my wings within Africa, regardless. Up
Right.
on coming up in this journey with lunchtime and stuff like that. In the last 5 years, let's say from 2019 up to 2021, that point, a lot of tragic events were happening in my life and whatnot personally. Um, I lost a friend, which was just off the back of like trying to get used to all this stabbings and stuff like that and whatnot on the road and everything. So I lost a friend, but this one touched me deeply because like a younger version of me and the same area and whatnot, this, that. So that was a purpose, one. And then me trying to, put the roots down in place to get to Africa. Number two, uh, work. I worked in Southern City College, in Birmingham, the biggest college in Birmingham at current. And obviously, there was a bit of unfair treatment with them. There was a person in the facility that was stalking me, and I wanted to leave on a voluntary service, which was accepted. They had waited for my signature, but they had it in the post, postponed it, so I couldn't sign on voluntary service because at the last minute, when they accepted it, they pulled out. So then on that particular event, I was angry, and then I left my workplace. I left my workplace then, and then I let them know the real reason behind it, me wanting to actually leave work with
Mhm.
somebody stalking me. It was a male, and I couldn't speak about it and whatnot because literally there was multiple things with how I could address this thing. But if I did it in my version, I would have been going to jail.
Yes.
If I,
Yes.
if I sit with my family and discuss it and whatnot, they're not
Mm.
really gonna understand, especially the older lot and whatnot. They expect me to do other stuff behind what the college would expect me to do.
Yes.
I brought this to light and I was jobless for a long time and whatnot. Obviously, I had lunchtime with myself, with income and whatnot. But the college made me scratch and bite and everything to the point where I had to go on old files, old phones and stuff like that to prove to them that this person was in fact stalking me. And I don't know how they got my number, how they managed to make about 10 Instagram accounts to follow me and like persuade me to do certain activities and whatnot. It wasn't gonna happen. So that was number two that occurred.
Wow.
Number three, I was in a relationship strongly for 4 years and everything else. That broke down. It's a big part of my life up until now and whatnot. That relationship in the final year of 2019, it affected me heavy. It affected me heavy, and obviously it just put me out of line and put me out of character for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then step number four, I had in between 2019 2020, there was an occasion where the police had raided my house 8 times in a span of 24 hours with not producing one warrant at all. I cannot make this up. Yeah, they raided my house and blah blah blah. They was looking for somebody. That person wasn't fixed at this address because we had lived there for 7 8 years. Um, my sisters were not toddlers, but they were in their infant years. The
Mm-hmm.
police, I told them, don't come into my house and whatever. The kids are not dressed. They didn't care. They brought down the door. Even till this day, there's still damages on that property. That was step number four. And they still haven't gave me an apology, a letter to actually say, this is formally why. They said I was looking for someone, but that's somebody. It was impossible for them to be linked to that address. Impossible. That's number four.
How
Number five,
how how can they justify raiding your house? Like even more than twice in 24 hours. Like,
I can't make it up. I can't make it up. It felt like there was an agenda, and then the last straw,
mm,
the very last straw, is that I had moved on to another relationship. I won't get into that too much because
yeah,
I wasn't in the right place at the time, and neither was the lady. However, she was pregnant, and I can't call it a miscarriage, can't call it a stillbirth, because still to this day I don't understand why it was. Azari was born at 18 to 19 weeks. And the circumstances go that her mum had been feeling cramped on the night and then went to the Dudley Hospital, Russell's Hall. Thursday to Friday, the heartbeat was healthy and whatnot there, but they didn't place her on the maternity ward. They placed her in a COVID ward. And then the Sunday, Azari was born about 5 minutes, couldn't make it, impossible for her to make it. The NHS hospital of Russell Hall, they let me know at first. They told us that we had it was a boy. I know that it's hard to predict that 4 months, but they said that Azari was a boy. A couple tests later after the postmortem and everything, they said no, in fact Azari was a girl. And that line, see, all these events, I could talk about all of them in different spaces and whatnot, but that was the last straw. The death of Azari, and the 7 months of, not the 7 months, the span of February to May. I put my daughter to rest in May, and like I didn't even recognize her the last time that I seen her, obviously. And yeah, there was just multiple events where the NHS again tried to villainize me in particular, because we was chasing this case of why has this happened and whatnot. Come to the end of it, they have told me that the placenta was infected with COVID, and that's what caused the passing. To which I stood up and said that's bullshit in the meeting. I walked out the room to security guard, 2 security guards automatically attacking me straight like that. I had the footage as well of that, and just after that particular day, and then I counted everything, the 5 factors that I put on paper. I goes, I can't take this anymore, because I possibly might be going to jail, because obviously there's no form of therapy that's helping me along these lines. I wasn't making income because of the work situation and going through that the tribunal space and whatnot. So I just thought, nah, I have to get out, because it's affecting my mental state, which again it did in fact. And that's a collective of, I want to say it's the reason why I moved directly, but Africa was always in the plan. But those sped up the process. They helped quicken up the process of, yeah, I can't stay in England no more.
Yeah. I mean, you know, what you've shared there alone, that's very heavy. And, you know, I honestly commend you for still having somewhat of a level head, because to go through all of those things in such a short space of time, or even over a period of time, that is a lot on the mental psyche. You know, you loss of a child, being stalked, being victimized at work, having to, so in literally in every single sense, you have been, and you know, don't take this away when I say victimized, but you've been victimized by work, by the NHS, by police. So every major institution that is supposed to be there to ultimately help and protect us, they've not done that for you. So I can understand why you would say, I'm done with this place. So I can only offer my very most sincere empathy and, and condolences for the loss of your child. That is a big deal. And, I've had a gentleman on who spoke about, how the loss of his baby affected him. And I think that isn't a conversation amongst men that happens enough. And I'm not going to expect you to talk about it now, but it is just to acknowledge, how that can affect someone's mental health and their well-being. And then I think also on top of that, to then be attacked by security when you're trying to find answers, you would literally want to burn down the whole place. And let's be real, right? But again, I have to commend you for, the restraint that you kind of had to put on yourself, and actually making that decision to leave the place that's caused you all this pain. Now, since you've moved to Uganda, have you experienced any sense of healing yet, or is it still kind of like a work in progress?
I'm still on the right journey and steps and whatnot. But again, 3 years up here, and this is it. Like, because in my last year of that, I feel like, because I was trying to ignore these stigmas, these mental health, and even as you said, like being victimized. For me, because more bringing and being in the ends and whatnot, this stuff. Like, I was always looking in the window, like, I'm not no victim. Like, I will hurt these people because who are
Yeah.
they trying to systematically play? Like I'm not on that or whatnot. But I'm like, okay, then this isn't the streets. This isn't like, yeah, every day. Okay, then here's across the border. Here's across the other side or whatnot. These are the
Mm,
police. These is the NHS. These is you cannot touch these people because there's only one way for you to go. They're trying to set you to go to prison. But
yeah.
outside of that, obviously there was personal issues as well and whatnot with as I say, I'm not really going to out anybody and be like,
Yeah.
turn this into a negative state or whatnot. But there's a lot of events as well with, like, personally, with the passing of my daughter, and obviously, yeah, the mom and whatnot. I know that obviously she wasn't a good person for me and everything, so I had to step out of line from the mom. She was
Mm,
also not doing too much, but at the start we didn't know or understand what was happening and whatever. So like 2, 3 weeks after, you want to make an NHS video about the awareness and the situation, but you don't have all the factors together. And I'm against this, but then obviously I'm still going to stand behind someone if they feel like they have purpose. And her purpose at that time was raising awareness for women that have gone through this and whatnot. But it was still
mm,
so sudden for me. But
yeah.
as I say, like, we've gone through emotions and whatnot. When I did come over to Uganda for the first 6 months and everything else, I felt like people from home were trying to sabotage my move because they were somewhat in their ways or whatever this that I've made the step that, yeah, I'm quitting and whatnot. So
Mm,
those people trying to do that, and I was feeding into it. So I say that obviously not UK wide, and I wasn't like a popular figure on Twitter at this point or whatnot. But within Birmingham wise, I was having an outrage and outing a lot of things in the city was fake. Who's not on nothing and this that. The guys that are putting on this fake image and whatnot, and I just went crazy. I
yeah.
just went crazy with my own family. I was like, you guys ain't even supported me in this and whatever this that, and
Mm,
don't really understand what I've actually went through. You got these idiots telling stories about me, and my closest people are believing them. And obviously, yeah, it was a long line with that follow up of England still followed through me on the plane. In my soul, it was eating me. But
mm,
then something crazy happened. I was in Uganda, I was on my phone, and just out of nowhere, don't, when you're in other countries, just make sure you do your research about how the environment it is. But my phone got snatched out of my hand, yeah. So I've lost everything. My pictures of Azari, my documents, everything is gone and whatnot. Obviously, I'm in Uganda. I got a good phone, pickpocketed, just out of nowhere, gone. From that time, that's when the redemption started. I was restricted of my phone, no internet access or whatnot, this, that. So I had to reflect, and I had fell out with my father heavy and whatnot. I also want to know that, I want to explain that I had my time here in Africa, and I was moving around. And then I was making no income, completely broke, out in the trenches in Africa. Now, this isn't even England that I'm not
Yeah.
making it. Now I'm in a foreign country. I'm in the trenches. I'm not speaking to my family. My phone has been robbed. It's it's mad. And that's where it started from, because when I was in that village, when I was in my surroundings, those people who have nothing or whatnot gave me something. When I had no time to eat or whatever this, that, they provided. Um, just little by little. And what not to roll out is that I had met a Ugandan lady out here, started up as friends and whatnot, was doing little things with like trying to put things in together. Like obviously she can speak English, she can speak most native languages. And then obviously we had took a step, and on the very first step we made, she became pregnant. So everything, like the alignment and whatnot. And then now obviously I've experienced fatherhood live in the flesh. So everything of the sense of the healing factor has been like that, because like forget people, forget what's on the internet or what's out there in real life and whatever this that. I've got a chance from above. Like God has literally put something in place for me.
Yeah.
And I managed to survive in the trenches. So how can I dismiss all of that and be like, okay then, the world's against me. Let me try to put on my happy face again and get back in
Yeah.
my mood of doing what I was supposed to be doing in the first place.
Yeah. That is a very, very powerful testimony about being forced to remove yourself from all these different people, places, and things that have caused you pain, which then made you have to sit with yourself. There's no distractions. It's just you and your survival of trying to eat every day. And do you know what I mean? I can't even imagine, how difficult that must have been. But I think it does show you that sometimes the universe will push you to unplug for the betterment of yourself. Do you know what I mean? So congratulations on so how old is your child?
She's past one. She's 1 and a bit now, 3, 4 months. Yeah,
Okay.
1 and 4 months. Yeah.
So what do you think are, like, just from, obviously she's only one, right? But what are the differences can you see would be like the difference between like raising her in Birmingham to raising her where she is now?
I'd say there's so much factors that she will avoid being here in Africa than in Birmingham. Like obviously, I feel like here in Uganda, especially like the culture, there's a lot of focus on racism and stuff like that and everything else. Where here, it's not like that, because obviously, predominantly the section is us and whatnot, and there's a bigger outside focus. Just show her about everyday life. um she'll be able to have the opportunities that I will never have. Like I'm learning and whatnot, but she's gonna be able to pick up languages easier than I am. And I feel like, especially as black people and everything else, we've literally been conquered, like especially us Caribbean ones, because we don't really have a native. Like Africans, they do, but then again, even in the UK right now, I feel like a lot of African people are losing their identity. When they go back home to these African countries, they can't even communicate with their elders because they've been systemized. And for me, I've always had this African dream. That's the Instagram, African Dream LT. Of making sure that this continent is appreciated, is valued. When they win, when one of these African countries out of the 54 win the World Cup, I want to be in the continent. When people start actually taking bigger tours outside of Africa, not just Nigeria and Ghana, I want to be here. You know, not just use Africa as a third back wheel. We've seen these places for football now, like Saudi Arabia has a market and everything else for football. I want African football to be prominent, that people want to come and play football within Africa. So there's a whole diverse purpose of like what this thing is all about and everything. Currently, which I haven't really touched on with the goal for me, is what I'm trying to do is I found the orphan space of around 40 children, and I'm just trying to raise awareness of a start of trying to get basic essentials. The football means that they need, because it's like a football academy, which the guy is trying to do and everything else. So yeah, but it's going to be beyond what I want to do for actually what this African dream is about. What I want to do is set up hubs like the youth centres that we had in England for the less privileged, for the communities here, that if they can't afford school fees, that they can come to lunchtime school and they can learn practical things. I'm not the best in math, English, science and everything, but I can teach them about food, can teach them about history, can teach them about gardening, the basic things that we may need in real life. So that's the overall goal, to build youth hubs out here so I can make sure that the youth is not going astray.
Love that. Love that. So yeah, I mean, and this is what essentially we're here to kind of talk about. So the GoFundMe is now set up. What is your
Right.
target and that type of thing?
I put a target of £800. I wasn't really putting a price on it, like literally where we're at now, because we've been running for the last 4 days. We're at 130 on the page. Altogether, we're at 200 with separate donations, which is even amazing at the start. But as a collective, even just doing this and working with the person as current, I feel like I want to do this now as an organization.
Yeah.
So if I hit the current target, then obviously I'm going to get the anyway for the orphanages that I'm in partnership with. But I'm going to try to look at legitimizing something that's out there that is going to be like a monthly plan where friends, family, strangers, whoever is willing to support the dream can put this thing in place, which we just talked about. Because when I do create this hub, this the youth centre and everything else and whatnot, we have to look at obviously acquiring land,
Yes.
building the space, and then obviously taking store from there. So short-term, long-term plan all together, all in one. So hopefully it's a start to doing that process.
Okay. So just for like myself, because I don't understand the rate difference and stuff like that. A £10 donation, what could that provide? For example?
£10 donation. £10 in UGX is currently 48,000. We'll say 50k. Yeah, 50k. That can get your basic shopping from when you do it in the local means. Your rice. They have something called portion out here. That's like it's like mash. They have their beans, different type of beans that they have. Like the basic essentials it can cover and provide electricity. It like there's so much stuff that the £10 actually can, but like it can do. But yeah, that's like a quick description that £10 can definitely get basic means in bulks
In bulks.
that
That's
don't have, that
Oh.
don't have for a month.
For a month.
Yeah. If I buy a bag of rice at like 12,000, that's like at least 4 or 5 kg. Yeah, it would last them for a month.
Wow. Okay.
Family of 3, family of 4, yeah.
Lunch Nation.
Lunch Nation.
This is Lunch Nation. And what we are doing with Lunch Nation, this is my football squad, yeah?
Yeah.
And we are taking them to travel all over the east side of Africa. And what we are going to do is ask for our community, our friends and family to support us with our ventures. Best believe me, in the next 5 years, this team will be the best youth team in Uganda. And I already found these lads in the park. So we're going to be the best team in Uganda.
Yes.
And in the next 20 years, we'll be the best team in the world. This is Lunch Nation. This is Lunchtime. Lunchtime! 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 Lunchtime!
Everybody watching this, you know, it's not very often that we hear about someone's journey like this and who's now then prepared to do this level of work for somebody else, because quite easily you could turn into someone that's becomes very self-serving. Well, you know, the world has done this for me, done this to me. I don't care about anybody else. But the fact of the matter is, you're out here, you're caring, and you're trying to still build something better for other people. So we thank you. And like I say, if anybody listening or watching, I'm going to drop the link in the show notes. Please contribute whatever you can. I mean, look, if the you know the total that we're trying to achieve here is £800, if everybody who watches this, anyone who sees this tweet, contributes £1, we'll get that money just like that, you know. So please, guys, dig deep. This is a very worthy cause, and you guys know I am very much about how I feel, and this is how I feel with Akeem. So I'm asking you guys to trust how I feel. Okay. Akeem, thank you so much for sharing so much that you have done with us today. I can imagine it's not been easy. And you know, a lot of the things that you've spoken about were quite painful, and you know, even I could feel that myself. But you know, we would love to have you back maybe in a few months just to see how things are going. Is there anything you would like to let the viewers or let the listeners know before we wrap up?
I feel like the conversation ran smoothly, and I appreciate you for inviting me on your platform. Thank you so much. If I need to send a message out, it was just to break down quickly. My Twitter persona, it has been much villainized on certain opinions and everything else and whatnot. And even across the board, their social media wise and whatnot. I like to say that that is just a third persona of me that's always split in two minds of what you say, of what society could have turned me into. That hateful, bitter person that sometimes probably just goes off the scale and makes just wild thoughts and everything. That is just a internet character, a internet persona. But within real life and separate means, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been certain events in my life and everything else that has come into play and like kind of dragged me through that. But I'm still alive, I'm still breathing, still thankful for life. And I'm not saying that I've defeated the English system or everything else, but I wasn't one of those guys like my brothers and my sisters around me, and my community friends and family that allowed myself to get sucked into the system, to go to prison, to spend 5, 6, 7 years, to be in mental health institutes and whatever this, that. No, I took my eggs in one basket and said, let me come to the place they say that I'm from. And it's blessed and delivered me and this is why I have the African dream, and we'll refer to this place as the motherland. Because it helped Lunchtime get back into his happier place. For real, for real.
Love that. Akeem, thank you so much. I don't even have, I can't really follow that up from what you've just ended with. But yeah, thank you. And guys, like I say, please be generous, donate. Where can we find you on your socials?
On Twitter at Lunchtime JB3. Instagram, I have two. I've got one called Lunch Aid UG that is purposely for this cause, and then my separate African Dream LT3, Facebook LTK Keem, TikTok LTK Keem, also linked with my Facebook. Yes, because I'm trying to spread as much awareness as I can.
Okay, lovely. We'll
Yeah.
put those on the screen. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to Akeem's journey. You know, if there's anything you would like to do outside of, you know, donating, please give either of us a shout. I'm here at Lovely Bear. And you know, please contact Akeem as well. I'll put our @ in the show notes. So yes, thank you for tuning in. I love you. Take care of yourselves, and it's a wrap.
Love laid bare.